That was first go of the day, strongest attempt I've ever had on the problem. Even with a couple of mistakes, definitely feels like time to get serious. Good, right? 5 minutes rest, try again.
I've always tried to do the all-rounder thing as a climber. I live in Scotland, and with some of the best winter climbing, bouldering, trad climbing and sport climbing in the world, they were all just too good to sacrifice to get better at any single discipline. So I've always tried to do the impossible, which is to get good at all of them. My old sports science lecturer in university used to remind us with maddening confidence that this was indeed impossible. Don't worry, in this video I'm not going to tell you that I found a way to prove him wrong, I haven't. But I do have a hopeful message that I'm going to share through a wee story of trying this hard boulder across a few years. This story starts in 2019. That year I built up to my best ever single day of all-rounder climbing, the 24-8. Font 8A+, E8 Trad, 8A Sport, Grade 8 Mixed and 8 Monroe summits in a single day. If you've not seen Kevin Wood's film of it, the link is in the description. That little pentathlon of climbing was a long time in the making, and after it I wanted a change. I wanted to specialise, but not only for specialising's sake. Specialising holds a key to raising your standard as a generalist. You'll only do a 24-8 if you can reel off Font 8A+ in a couple of tries, and you'll only gain that strength with a lot of bouldering, i.e. specialising, at least temporarily. That has always been the secret to achieving high grades as an all-rounder. Later in 2019, Rob Thomas showed me a project on the animal boulder near Inverness. It looked way too hard for me, which was exactly what I needed. I had a couple of sessions on it and promptly abandoned it. At least I abandoned trying it, I didn't abandon thinking about it. Unfinished projects always eat at me, and that's where their usefulness lies. They are the ultimate power tool for motivation. The image of that boulder smouldered away, something that I'll never climb because it's just too hard. By 2022, I succeeded on another hard boulder that I'd tried for a wee while, below zero. This one was 8B+, but I knew that this climb had succumbed to skills learned as a broader, all-round climber. I sneaked my way up it with fancy footwork on the crux, and you can't do that on every boulder. Truly hard climbing needs both strength and technique. Sneaking it with technique, great as it is, isn't true specialisation, and doesn't indicate an increase in strength worth speaking of. So I wanted to seek out something specifically where I could not hide with technique. If I picked a project or two where there was no other option but to gain strength, that would be more likely to make a real difference to the rest of my climbing. I'd have to accept that I'd very likely fail on whatever project I pointed myself at. The animal project was perfect and I went straight back to it. The first move is the crux, trying to lock into a rounded wrap undercut and snatch for another undercut. It was extremely difficult to get much weight on my feet, and so I failed to climb this move for pretty much the whole season. That said, I did feel tantalisingly close, and my experience with rock tells me that there is almost certainly a beta trick there to get a little improvement, even if you haven't found it after many sessions.
Yes! Well, that wasn't perfect. And didn't do the next move, but that was the first move from the start. That's another wee milestone. Well, that's the easy bit of that project. So that was from the end of the fourth move. That's a wee milestone, doing the easy bit. So now we can get to grips with the hard bit properly. Yes! Woohoo! Yes! So chuffed with that. It's a good link. what about that? Just transferring from 4-finger half crimp, which is how I take that undercut, to a 3-finger drag. As I'm moving itself, it's pretty hard, and it's just making it infinitely harder to link this thing together. So I'm just going back to square one, trying to figure out if I can find a way to just do it with all 4 fingers. I'm a bit weaker on that grip, and I also don't have quite as much reach. I need to pull up higher because I can't drop onto the 3 straight fingers. But if I can find a way to make it work, just to do that move, then it's one less move I have to do to change from 4 fingers to 3. I don't have much option at this point other than to try different things. That's what I'm doing so far. It's not coming together yet. Just short, man. Fuck it. Yes! That's brilliant. First 2 moves, maybe 2.5 moves. Right, it's on. Time to get training. I think at this point I should build a model of the problem on my board. Get serious.
I'm embarrassingly weak on undercuts and resolved to do some sustained training over the summer. I did the usual thing of making a caricature of the climb on my board to accentuate the parts that I was weak at, but the character of that first move was surprisingly hard to replicate, so I also just set a lot of undercut problems. But then my summer was seriously upset by an ankle surgery. Although I had only a week or so of doing no training at all, the lack of hard climbing was challenging to recover from, and it was around 4 months before I started to feel good. If I'm totally honest, I spent the winter feeling that my efforts to get stronger on undercuts and pure burl had been ineffective. I could match my previous high point, which is not bad considering that's as strong as I've ever been, and I was still bouncing back from the surgery. Time and sessions passed where I either failed to make any more progress or actually felt weaker again. A sinking feeling set in that I'd met my match. And this is good because this deflated mental state is usually what brings out the best in me, going back to basics, looking for some other way to move the needle. On each drive home in the dark, I tried to think of what else I could do to change the picture. One issue I was aware of was that I tend to err on the side of spending time trying the actual climb rather than going away and training for it. Most of the time, this makes sense. Climbing wall training is not always superior to just trying hard on the project. But possibly with these skin-destroying moves, there was a case to just try it once a week and train for the rest of the time. As the winter went on, I actually did do this more and more. On top of my own training, I spent a lot of time preparing my board to shoot my comprehensive course on climbing technique for Magnus Mitbo's platform Altitude. That course has just been released, and if you'd like to enrol, there's a link in the description. I set, tweaked and tested countless problems leading up to the shoot and was feeling pretty worked by the time we started filming. After the shoot, I was straight back to the project and could immediately feel that the sustained period of training had given me a little bump in strength, but still, it wasn't enough. I was close to linking the first 4 moves, but still just not consistently enough on any of them that I'd realistically have a chance.
Oh! New high point. That's amazing. Oh, it's going to destroy my finger, but that's absolutely brilliant. Right, I can do this project. I can do this project. Probably not this spring. Okay, I'm going to have a little rest and then we'll try that again. Right, let's see if we can do that first move again. I reckon I've got about 3 tries or something before it cuts through my skin.
It should go without saying that although my purpose here was to embrace the battle to gain strength, I still looked for ways to improve the sequence, especially on that first move.
Yeah, you are trying really hard there. That's like 100%.
Yeah.
And yeah, because you kept readjusting, eh?
I made loads of mistakes there.
Yeah.
I hit almost every hold wrong.
Yeah. But hey, if you're still hitting the lip
Yeah.
and it's going wrong,
Yeah.
then
Yeah, that's
that's
quite
positive. That's super
exciting.
positive.
It really is, yeah.
You know? Great. It's
Yeah.
amazing effort.
Then came the real breakthrough on the first move, finding a better way to seat my ring finger in the hold, and all of a sudden I could do that move repeatedly and was nearly linking to the lip. Getting to the lip would be a huge milestone, but likely only the start of the next horizon. The lip to the top felt like 7C to me, but to do it after having made it through the start would surely require another big jump in standard. I'd only find out how big the first time I actually made it from the start to the lip. Much to my surprise, it didn't work out the way I expected. If ever there was a reminder that it's difficult to know when you're really close to success on projects, this was it. Before I even finished the head wall, I was already feeling the sadness that I'll miss the tranquil dusks spent at this boulder, listening to the cows, the pheasants and the snipes as another session passed. How should we look at this story? I succeeded on the climb, but not really on the project of forcing myself to get significantly stronger. I'll let you decide whether this was a success or not. In my own mind, it was both a success and a failure. I saw it through countless sessions where I couldn't see any other angle to take, and yet I persisted long enough to spot the solution right in front of my face as I sat on the mat below the first move.
Woohoo! Oh man.
But the job of trying to get less weak on burly moves barely even got off the ground on this project. So let's move right on to the next.